But right now, we're going to start with the best. Our friend, Congresswoman Michele Bachmann, back with us on the Common Sense Club. How are you?
I'm just thrilled, happy to be with you today. It is a somber day, and I was just remarking I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, and the sky looks exactly as it did on September 11th in 2001. It couldn't have been a more perfect day over Manhattan when the horror began, and I think it really gives us pause when you see the horror in the midst of beauty. We can never, ever forget that it's possible, and I think that's why I read the article that Mark Thiessen wrote. I think your listeners are going to want to pay attention and stay tuned in. Don't change the dial, because this is very significant and very important. I sit on the House Intelligence Committee, and for the president to not be present for over half of the intelligence briefing in a very dangerous environment, President Bush, by contrast, rarely missed an intelligence briefing. I think this is the untold story of this presidential election, because President Obama continually wants to act as though he has been the genius on intelligence matters, when in fact the reverse is quite the contrary. And from my perspective, this is the most dangerous president we've ever had when it's coming to foreign policy. So I think you're going to have a very interesting discussion when you speak with Mark Thiessen.
Well, there's another danger to our national security, and it's spending. I know that there is a deal in the works right now, and thankfully you're there sounding the alarms on this. This is something I think that people forget. Nancy Pelosi was handed the gavel in January of 2007. And go look at the economy that day. Go look at the unemployment rate at 4.6%. Go look at what's happened since. Really, our fiscal house got way out of order, over a long period of time. But we made bad a lot worse beginning in 2007 and then doubled down in the Obama 4 years. Haven't we, Michele?
Yeah, we have. As a matter of fact, we are looking at a fiscal cliff on January 1st of 2018. Or 2013, in just a few short months. And we already have new data that's coming out. Moody's is looking at potentially downgrading us again for our credit rating. The Congressional Budget Office has just come out. And this is unbelievable. What they've said is that our government budget balance, out of 144 economies across the world, we come in almost at the bottom. We rank at 140th now in government budget balance, and we rank now 136 out of 144 on government debt. This is almost impossible to fathom that we are that low in the rankings of world economies. We always think of ourselves as the biggest, the best, the strongest, but when you continue to overspend, as Barack Obama has, literally in excess of $1 trillion every year he's been in office, you have to pay the piper. And what we're seeing is that piper wants to be paid sooner rather than later. And so we've really got to change. You and I had a conversation I won't forget last summer when I was running for president at the time, and there was the question about should we raise the debt ceiling? In other words, should we give government an increase on the credit card so they can borrow another $1 trillion? I was the only person in Washington, D.C. who said no. We need to get behind closed doors today. We need to deal with our entitlement program overspending today. We can't let this go on one more day, because we'll come back a year from now. This is what I told you. We'll come back a year from now. We'll be in worse shape than we are today, because you don't solve your problem like Vice President Joe Biden said by spending your way out of it. You solve your problem by getting your budget into balance. And I hate to say I told you so, but we had the conversation last summer. And to see that the United States now is ranked number 140th out of 144 in government balance and 136th on government debt, this is to our shame. We're a much better country than this, and that's why I thank God that within 50-some days we'll be able to change the person at the very top of the ticket. And we've got to have some strong conservatives here in Congress to help our new president hold on to his promises.
What is your sense of the state of this race? Looks like the president got a slight bounce from the election, and his chances, at least at the polls, as a snapshot today, have improved a little bit. Now that we're after the conventions, are you worried about the outcome in November? How do you assess it as of today?
Well, I'm the eternal pessimist when it comes to these things, and I always believe that you have to fight extremely hard because we have a lot of disadvantages. We don't have the media and the academia and Hollywood and all the rest. There's a lot of surprises that are going to come forward. but we just have to be extremely aggressive on our messaging. I know I was disturbed when I saw some of the messages that came out of the Meet the Press interview that Governor Romney had done on Sunday. I think some of what he said was twisted, because we need high compare and contrast between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney's messages. We need.
No. By the way, I watched that whole interview, and what I heard him say, and I guess this is always in the context of David Gregory and all these other folks trying to play gotcha. But what I heard from Mitt Romney was, hey, we're gonna repeal Obamacare, but we're also going to replace it with free market friendly healthcare reform. And he talked specifically about pre-existing conditions and also a market-driven system that would allow people to decide how long they want to keep kids in their family at a particular age on a program. What did he say that disturbed you?
Well, I think it was the headlines. When I was on the plane yesterday, I saw headlines in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, or in the St. Paul Pioneer Press, and the way that the media took his remarks were that he had flip-flopped in this issue. And that's why I never take what the media says, but that's how they're portraying it. That's why conservatives have to be extremely careful all the time, because, again, this is the disadvantage that we deal with mainstream media. And so I had a lot of Tea Party people contact me last night and say to me, I don't know if I can back Romney if he's backing off of his health care promise. And he looked me in the eye and told me multiple times, Michele, I will repeal Obamacare on day one. And I take him at his word that he will do that. And that's why I think that we have to see a race that is very strong on compare-contrast. What will Mitt Romney do on health care? What will Mitt Romney do differently on taxes, on spending? I think there is a world of difference between the two. But I think this is not the time for trying to run to the middle. It's the time for high contrast. And I think that everything that our message is needs to be on that point. Very high contrast.
Two other quick things that I want to get in before I let you go, and I only have a minute left. One is Rupert Murdoch said to Romney, stop fearing the far right. Do you think we Tea Party folks scare the Romney campaign? Romney?
Well, that'd be ridiculous. We're the base. We're the base of the party, and constantly Barack Obama runs to his base, and his base keeps electing him. And the base of our party wants fiscal sanity. The big issue that's driving people right now, Scott, is the debt. People are absolutely scared to death of this debt, and that's Democrats and Republicans. That's where we really can reach out to independents and say, look, we get it. We're adults. We're not going to embrace this fantasy economics any longer.
I agree with you. But is there any distance between us and Mitt Romney? Does Mitt Romney fear the far right?
I don't know that he fears the far right. No, I can't say that he does. But I think, again, they have to be very careful about the messaging to make sure that they aren't trying to run to the middle, because right now it needs to be a high compare and contrast.
The other thing I want folks to know about in the remaining seconds we have left, there's a new poll out suggests you're in some danger. Your opponent's pushing this. Nancy Pelosi's targeted you. Folks have got to help Michele Bachmann keep that seat, so go to MicheleBachmann.com. We've got to do our part, and we're going to continue to do everything in the next 50-plus days to make sure folks know about that. God bless you. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Thanks, Scott. Bye-bye.